was working in. I mean, look at the list of jobs. I worked from 4 to 7, maybe go to school from 7 onward. But in a sense, I was always fighting the Jaimes. You know, Jaime was kind of cruel that way, though I loved him, and he was a terrific guy, a lot of fun.
Explain who Jaime was.
Jaime was my mother's first cousin, Uncle Sam's first cousin, and was a baker, and very generous of spirit. And I think he thought that I was the son he wanted, somebody who was a ball player, was a good student, was this, that. I never felt that way, but I thought he thought that way. And I couldn't imagine being treated like that. That he teased his sons, and that's horrible.
Yeah,
that's horrible. I mean, the one time, 2 times that we got into a family argument, in a sense was traumatic for me, that I studied kind of hard for an exam. I didn't enjoy school very much. I thought it was, might as well rope me down. You know, to sit there quietly. I always wondered whether I had, it was an ASTD. I always wondered about that. In the meantime, I'm having these, kids would drool for the success I would have on the basketball court. I was on Dean's list for 5 out of the 8 semesters. It didn't make much of an impression on me. I did it because I was supposed to do it. I loved history. Loved history.
Why?
It was life. It was life. Same, different people being treated as poorly as we were at that time of their lives. I don't know. I really wish I understood that part of living better, because you sure do live it intensely.
Good history really brings the lives that people lived at the particular time that's being written about. It makes it alive. It makes you realize that people really have not changed in how they think and what motivates them, and and in some ways even how they turn out, even if they lived hundreds of years ago. To me, that's amazing, because you think of history as sort of dried up books and people who are just there but not really there in terms of your understanding who they are.
Yeah. That came alive for me a couple of weeks ago, and Jeannie Klein came by. And he lived on DeKalb, I lived on Decatur, and that sense of bonding and the laughs and the stories we could tell about how efficient our juvenile delinquency was, because we never got caught. How much better than that can you do?
Okay, Roger, what was the worst thing that you ever did that people knew about it and the statute of limitations hadn't run out? You'd be heading straight for the slammer.
Let's see. There's so many.
So many.
So many. I really did. I was telling Cameron a lot of this story.
You're trying to inspire your grandson.
I'm trying to inspire my grandson. And Cameron's just laughing and laughing. He says, you didn't really do it. Did you get away with it? Yeah, I got away with it. But the one thing I could say I'm very proud of is I never hurt anybody. I wouldn't hurt people. I just didn't think that was, I could live with myself. And a lot of these experiences were kind of a measure of the full measure of your life. Or, think of my best teachers in college and high school and how wonderful they were. They cared, they laughed. I never liked the stuffy ones. God, I didn't like stuffy teachers. I had a lot of them. I had a lot of stuffies.
You got teachers, as you say, who inspired you also.
Right. Mr. Porras and my freshman teachers. What a good guy he was. He went to Fordham, and he was the funniest looking guy. He had these like very fine hair coming out of the top of his head and nowhere else.
Well, it had to be located in one place. The top of the head is probably the best.
I guess. It wasn't in Florida.
You know, I can remember your worst teacher. It was the coach, the basketball coach.
Oh, Hank Jacobson. God, what a disaster for a man.
If you took a shot at the basket and you miss, he would yell at you, "Don't shoot! Don't shoot!" That was very helpful.
Right.
If you sank the ball, would he then say, "Shoot, shoot"?
Well, in all fairness to him, I was playing with one of the best teams on the East Coast in New York City. We were just loaded with talent, loaded. And
tell that sad story, Roger, when we went back to Clinton and you looked at the picture.
Yeah,
this is something that I think people don't. It tells something about
the
times we lived in.
I don't think people got the full measure, or get the full measure of a lifetime when they lived their life. They got a job, they had a kid, and whatever. I got the full measure. I saw that if I screwed up, I could go to jail. I could do all types of things that you just wouldn't think an 17, 18-year-old kid would do. And I had, fine parents compared to the kids I grew up with. And I remember for years, the shot I made that nobody else could make was a left-handed hook shot. And I did it because my right hand was broken. So I learned to shoot with my left during the convalescence. And then suddenly I got hurt. I tried to play, and it hurt too much. It was just, oh, God. I just couldn't get myself around the ball. To which Lenny Wilson and Lonnie passed me the ball, and I had my eye on it. And I remember saying, "Here comes my fame." My moment of fame. And I love those guys. They just absolutely would tear me up laughing. And then they did an imitation of...
This is high school.
This is high school. And they did an imitation of what black humor was like. And they were hilarious. What do you mean by that? And, their English, of course, was satiric. And then I find out later that after high school, when we got together a couple times during the summer, and they died. Two of them were killed in Vietnam, the other one was wounded very badly. Pablo played for the Harlem Globetrotters, and not Chamberlain, not Russell. Who's the other guy?
On the Globetrotters?
On the Globetrotters.
You got a funny name.
And then they were just wonderful. They were just fun guys. And what I don't remember from them was their anger. And I always thought that was so peculiar. If we were treated like that, I think we'd be pissed. Can you imagine knowing that your grandmother and grandfather came over on a slave ship? That's just beyond me. Just beyond me.
You're just thinking back, it's just
Huh.
astonishing.
Oh,
It is. It's
God. The cruelty. Absolute cruelty. And I could never get over that. Never. Never. And then we went up to the gym, and I forgot the guy's name. Sanders? I forgot now. It's only a short time, but I did forget. And how he, you immediately know if you've been in that situation, in the hood, whatever they wanted to call the hood, whether you have somebody that's simpatico or not. And he went to the drugstore, and I remember once he didn't come back during, and he found out that his father had died.
This is one of your
This is
friends.
one of the guys, Lonnie. And he wasn't the brightest bulb in the room, but he was the funniest bulb. he saw things, and he could mimic you better than you could mimic yourself in the mirror. You just could. I don't know how he did it, but he did. And yet we go on. We go
Well,
on.
that's a gift that you have too of comedy.
Yeah.
That's always been an important part of your life.
Yeah. I wish I knew more and could understand what drives it sometimes. Sometimes I get in a shower and we're going out for dinner or doing something silly. And I could talk to myself for a long time and just laugh. And, hey, Lenny.
You saw the absurdity of situations, the absurdity of life.
Oh boy, did we. Did we. And even then there was a middle class black population.
So you lived in New York all your life until you went off to college. And then you went to a totally different environment in the University of Vermont. Can you remember your first days there, what it was like coming from the Bronx?
Through there, yeah, oh yeah.
What it was like in Vermont?
Oh, wow. Yeah, first there were all these beautiful girls. Yeah, coming from an all-boys school, so there were girls, and they actually had breasts. And I always liked to sit so I could just see on both sides of the eyes. Oh. And I remember when the freshmen got back to the dining room table, at first it was Saga Foods, and then it was guys who you were in class with, and it wasn't until your sophomore year did you really enjoy the vista. Girls.
You were a horn dog, right?
I was
that
worse.
was the official term.
I was worse than a horn dog. I was a cow dog and a steer dog and a beef dog. And I didn't know I was good looking. That was a very interesting phenomenon for me.
The girls came after you.
Not came after me, but that they thought I was good looking. I accepted it very graciously. I wasn't great looking.
With your modesty. With
my common modesty. And I was a jock, and I was smart in some of the subjects. Boy.
Like to press the reset button when you go back.
Right.
Particularly going from an all-boys school to a co-ed school. That was big.
Well,